Chapter 101 Uchiha has been reduced to the young patriarch to buy food. Facts have proved that even a ninja, after a hangover, will inevitably enjoy a splitting headache package the next day. Is there a hangover soup? Glancing at Tsunade, who was about to stick to the table, Kainayu sneered, "I don't have a hangover soup, but there is a cure for hangover. Would you like to try it?" "Real?" "Of course, hangover with alcohol." It must not be taken seriously to hangover with alcohol. Chiuki brought some honey water to Tsunade. After drinking the honey water and resting for a while, Tsunade gradually calmed down. In the words of online games, the old lady is full of blood and resurrected. After eating, Tsunade took out 2 scrolls and placed them on the table. It was exchanged from the old man. You can see the score for yourself, or you can learn from it. I'll go out and deal with it. By the way, it's ninjutsu with Jiraiya's military exploits, so you don't have to shirk. Come on, why is it good to have a backer? The ninjutsu on the seal book can be exchanged if it is exchanged. The average ninja must at least become a jonin, accumulate a lot of contributions, and can only be changed after passing the assessment of 3 generations of Hokage. Kainayu opened the scroll and looked at it, and it turned out to be the technique of flying thunder gods, as well as the technique of multiple shadows. I don't know if I can learn the technique of flying thunder gods. When playing games in the previous life, almost no one chose this ninjutsu because the games are all turn-based. You give me a second, choosing Feleshen is just not happy for yourself. Therefore, Kainayu didn't use this thing, and besides, the technique of flying thunder god can't be used as an exclusive skill. Except for his exclusive skills, there are no other ninjutsu in the game. At this time, Kainayu can't guarantee that she can learn the technique of flying thunder god. After all, the threshold for learning this ninjutsu is a bit high. There are more chakras, they must be good at sealing, and they must have a nerve reflex speed that exceeds that of ordinary people. Otherwise, even if you have learned the technique of flying thunder gods, you will not kill the enemy when you fly out, but smash yourself to death. Watergate's neural reflex speed is completely abnormal, which even Kainayu has to give up. Throw it away first, and try it later. Kainayu cares more about the technique of multiple shadows than the technique of flying thunder gods. He is people with a lot of chakra, without this ninjutsu, are simply too scum. Jiraiya, who is far away in the land of rain, didn't know that Tsunade used his military exploits to exchange for another ninjutsu. At this time, Jiraiya also had a headache every day, facing the various issues that Minato would discuss in his life. Every time, it can make Zilai also look dazed. He didn't understand what Minato had gone through after he entered the battlefield, and why he became what he is today. Once the little sun no longer warms people's hearts, but pierces the heart everywhere. What made Jiraiya almost vomit blood was when Minato asked him, "Teacher Jiraiya, if someone chooses to use the same material as you, and also peeks at the person whom Teacher Jiraiya likes, what will Teacher Jiraiya do?" Of course it's to blow his dog's head. Jiraiya exploded on the spot. You dare to peek at the woman that Immortal Toad likes? Wait, this is not right. There seems to be a pit. If not, Minato looked at him speechlessly, then Mr. Jiraiya is still going around to see other people taking a bath. What should other people's family think? Zilai. Not only Jiraiya is also doubting life, even Orochimaru's head is dumbfounded. Shengshu, the stupid disciple who used to be a fool, who could stump him for a long time with any question, now always comes up with some inexplicable questions, and then asks him for confirmation. Facing a series of 100,000 whys, Uncle Snake, who was only 8 fights tall, was also a little uncomfortable. And the person who caused Minato and Roshu to be led astray is currently in Konoha, who is proficient in the art of multiple shadows. For Kainayu, the technique of multiple shadows is simpler than expected. Instead, It was the Flying Thunder God technique that made his scalp tingle. Not to mention the need for a large amount of chakra, this is just a small problem. Kainu doesn't have much else, just chakra though. Minato is a younger brother compared to him. In the whole of Konoha, only Kushina and No can compete with him. Even if you count the 9 tails, Kainu is not afraid. Because he has Zabai himself, it's a big deal. Chakra is one point, and secondly, you need to learn a lot of sealing techniques as a foundation. This condition is barely acceptable. After all, the technique of Flying Thunder God is very perverted. The most speechless thing is that even if these conditions are met, if you don't have the talent to learn time and space ninjutsu, it's useless. Not to mention, in order to completely control the technique of Flying Thunder Gods, you also need super strong perception ability and abnormal level neural reflexes. It is very difficult to learn this technique. As for whether you can learn it in the end, it may depend on luck. After all, Kainu doesn't know if she has the talent to learn time-space ninjutsu. Without talent, it is useless to meet the basic conditions. Otherwise, it will not appear, and the embarrassing situation that only Senju Tobirama and Minato can fly the Thunder God's technique in the entire ninja world. It's not that Konoha doesn't want to carry forward this technique, but that many people have tried it, and they all ended in failure. As for the 3 chickens in the future that need to be arranged in advance, they are not included in this list. This is our second official meeting, right? Who would have thought that when buying a vegetable, you could meet him? Seeing Uchiha Fugaku who came prepared, Kainu narrowed her eyes and asked back with a smile, could it be that the Uchiha family has reached the point where the young patriarch needs to come to buy vegetables in person? Before setting off, Uchiha Fugaku prepared a lot of rhetoric to convince Kainu, but as soon as they met, Kainu broke his defense in an instant. Joke, the dignified young patriarch Uchiha needs to come to buy vegetables in person? What do you, Yagami Chiuki, take Uchiha for? That's not the case. I'm still here for you when I appear this time. In his heart, he kept telling himself not to be angry, and he didn't need to mind a little kid. Uchiha Fugaku looked around. Should we change to a more convenient place to speak? Do not. Kainu raised her hand and shouted, I think it's very convenient here. If the young patriarch has anything to say, just say it. Uchiha is in a lot of trouble. I don't want to get in trouble with you. Go to a convenient place to speak. I was afraid that I had lost my mind, so I joined you. At present, there are no clear signs of targeting him at the top, but if he gets too close to the Uchiha family, maybe the situation will change. Especially people like Uchiha Fugaku. Kainu only had contact with Uchiha Mikoto and Mikoto's mother, and the top management would definitely not care. When the contact person was changed to Uchiha Fugaku, the problem came. This is equivalent to releasing a signal that he, Kainu, is going to return to Uchiha. Kainu is not stupid. How could she jump into the pit that Uchiha Fugaku dug for him? Can't we even sit down and talk in detail? This is really not possible. Kainu did not give Uchiha Fugaku any face, shrugged her shoulders, and said regretfully, who made you the young patriarch of Uchiha? I. There are some ugly words in front of me. Returning to Uchiha is my mother's last wish, but unfortunately I don't want to do it. Hope you could understand. I don't want to worry about the past, because my mother always worried that I might have a conflict with Uchiha. She's gone, and I don't want to cross the line in the middle, so I hope you don't take the initiative to step on it. It's impossible to return to Uchiha. Young patriarch, please come back, don't come to me in the future. Interrupted Uchiha with both Fugaku's words, Kainu will tell the ugly words one by one. Some people and some things should be pointed directly. But you have the blood of the Uchiha family flowing in you, so you should have the honor and responsibility of being a Uchiha. Can you say that again? The red light flashed, the three-hook jade writing wheel eyes appeared, the three-hook jade began to rotate. Kanaya looked coldly at Uchiha Fuyu, who was talking nonsense. Chapter 102 Kurama, that fox also has 9 tails? Glory and responsibility? Who are you fooling? I was a little impulsive. Uchiha Fuyu took a deep breath, raised his hand and pressed it. I didn't mean that. I just hope that the two of us can calm down and talk calmly. Nothing to talk about. Uchiha's glory does not belong to me, and Uchiha's responsibility does not belong to me either. Shaking her head, Kanaya raised the vegetable basket. I've said everything I need to say. I hope you won't embarrass me, young patriarch, otherwise I'll have to ask you to go around here and show you your dancing talent. Trust me, after you try it, you will regret it. The intestines are all regretful. I will come again. Taking a deep breath, Uchiha Fugaku gritted his teeth and turned to leave. The people around were looking at the two of them, and some of them were talking in a low voice. Isn't that the young patriarch of Uchiha? What is Uchiha's honor and responsibility? It's ridiculous. Besides bullying the villagers, what else would Uchiha do? Yes, my brother-in-law was drunk and spit on their face. As a result, he was imprisoned for 3 months. Everyone lost a lot of weight and lost a lot of money. Your brother-in-law wasn't beaten to death, he really deserves it? Hearing this remark, Kanaya was instantly speechless. Uchiha's work in the police department has indeed caused a lot of hatred for nothing, and has taken a lot of blame. Although some of them are fueled by high-level officials, it can be seen that the police department is really unpleasant. Always doing things that offend people, it is almost impossible to get the recognition and love of the villagers. Have we talked about it? Carrying some vegetables, Tsunade, who was unlovable, and Kushina, who was happy, came up. Why do you have to be pulled up early in the morning to buy groceries? He was also threatened that he would have no food if he didn't come. What are you talking about? I'm not stupid, how could I return to Uchiha? Kainu laughed. Tsunade raised his brows, became energetic, and joked, really? I heard that Uchiha has some forbidden techniques, which are about writing round eyes. If you don't return, you won't have the chance to learn these forbidden techniques. Kanaya looked at Tsunade in surprise. As the granddaughter of the first generation, the second generation is a man who is full of forbidden arts except for the water escape. I don't see how many things you have learned, Tsunade-ji. Are you really a member of the Thousand Hands? You stop for my mother. If you don't say it clearly today, I'm not finished with you. Does Tsunade lack ninjutsu? No shortage. Thousands of Tobirama's notes are kept in the family. In Tsunade's hands, there are scrolls of various ninjutsu rubbings, but has she learned it? Obviously, no. The vegetable market went wild for a while, and finally ended with Tsunade-ji smashing a lot of things and losing money. Tsunade successfully realized it and regretted what it meant to be. The money I just earned from Konoha Hospital, I lost a lot of money before it was hot. Tsunade, who was stepped on the sore spot, paid a heavy price because of impulsiveness. Her heart ached when she thought of the hundreds of thousands of taels in compensation. Money. The meeting between Chiuki and Uchiha Fugaku was not unexpectedly reported to the third Hokage by the ninja of Anbu. Kainayu accompanied Tsunade, Kushina went to buy vegetables, and the people from Anbu followed. It was hard not to be discovered. Moreover, Uchiha is the key surveillance target. As Uchiha's young patriarch, there is no Anbu person around him watching, and Kainayu can't believe it. Of course. Uchiha Fuyu is not a good thing either. If you don't come, you have to find a convenient place to talk. When I talk about your uncle, I really followed you. When the yellow mud falls out of the crotch, no one will believe it if it's not shit. You said that you have nothing to do with Uchiha, others will be suspicious. And you have already gone to talk in private, and you still defend yourself like this. Do you think anyone will believe it? It seems that Uchiha still hasn't given up. Come on, you don't need to tell the two elders about this. Yes, Hokage-sama. The Anbu people obediently left, and the 3 generations of Hokage took out the crystal ball to observe Kainayu's every move. Master, someone is peeping in the dark. Do you need to clean it up? If you clean up this peeping person, the whole Konoha will explode. No need to guess, it must be the 3rd Hokage, an old man of color who likes to use the telescope technique to peep. It's just that Kainayu didn't expect that the other party's speed was so fast, so long after that, she started to follow her. Do not worry about it. What's wrong with you? Seeing Kainayu frowning and looking around, Tsunade looked at him suspiciously, and Kushina also looked over curiously with a vegetable basket. Kainayu deliberately said, I don't know if it's my illusion, but I always feel like someone is staring at me. Kushina, your perception is very strong, have you noticed it? No. Kushina shook her head, her perception was strong, yes, but she really didn't realize she was being watched. Right now, wait for me. It doesn't matter if you don't notice it, Kushina is someone who can hang up. Stuffing the vegetable basket to Kainayu, Kushina's consciousness entered the sealed space and said to the 5-flowered nine-tailed, Big Fox, do me a favor, next time you fight the landlord, will I let you instruct you? HMPH, damn kid, do you think the old man will agree to this ridiculous condition? Nine-Tails sneered arrogantly, turned her head to one side, and refused directly. That's a pity, I thought it would let you get some air and learn later. Since you don't need it, then you can continue the confinement. I will tighten the chain a little bit, can you accept it? Damn kid, are you threatening me? Nine-Tails exploded, and all the hairs on her body stood up. What it hates most is when someone threatens it. Yes, I'm just threatening you. Kushina replied frankly, since I can't negotiate with you, then I can only threaten, and no one asks you to help me. Damn kid, I'm going to eat you. HMPH, you really are an evil big fox. Kushina fully controlled the Vajra chains in the sealed space, and she felt that she needed to give Kaiba some color. Damn little devil. Nine-Tails roared wildly and struggled constantly, but Kushina responded with all her might. During the struggle, the blockade would occasionally loosen, and the Nine-Tails glanced and saw Kainayu and Tsunade standing beside Kushina, while Kainayu had a little white fox lying on her shoulders. The little fox's 9 cute tails hang in the air, swaying. What is this stuff? Looks familiar, fox? A fox with 9 tails? Nine-Tails even forgot to struggle for a while, staring blankly at Zhao, seeming to feel something. Zhao suddenly raised his head, looked at the position of Juxnai's stomach, showed a disdainful look, yawned, leaning on Kainayu's face, and continued to doze. The old man was despised. No, this fox is not right. Before Kaiba could react, the sealed space was once again stabilized, and Kaiba could no longer see the outside world. Not caring about the tighter and tighter diamond chains on his body, Nine-Tails asked loudly, Kushina little devil, what is that animal on your sweetheart's shoulder? As long as you answer the old man's question, the old man will help you. What? Sweetheart? Juxnai's little head was stunned, buzzing, her face flushed, and she said with a guilty conscience, a sweetheart is not. Also, that's not something, it's Zhao, Kainayu's psychic beast, a 9-tailed fox, or a girl, very cute, fragrant, but more attractive than you stinky fox. Fox. Savory. Chapter 103. The 3 generations of Hokage were exposed, and Tsunade came to the door. Kaiba turned his head and seemed to think of something. Before, it smelled the scent of the tailed beast chakra from Kainayu, and chakra was very similar to himself and had a fragrance. Right now, there is a little white fox with 9 tails around Kainayu, which looks very similar to herself. Wouldn't this solve the case? Bah! That's a tailed beast, that little white, it's definitely a tailed beast. You are the tail beast. Juxnai put her hands on her hips and shouted back, her small appearance was fierce. It's a pity that there is no deterrence. It seems that more contact is needed. Kaiabai thought for a while and said to Kushina, you release the blockade of the sealed space, I will help you first. All right. Kaiabai suddenly changed his temper, and Kushina couldn't understand what he was thinking. Fortunately, Nine Tails was willing to help. It was really hard work, but luckily it was a success. Kushina smiled proudly. Get some rights to activities. Kainayu said that someone was spying on us, but I didn't notice it. Can you find the other party's trace? Let me try. Ninetails didn't dare to pack a ticket. If the car overturned, they would lose the face of the tailed beast. Fortunately, it didn't roll over. The powerful perception quickly locked the direction from the Hokage office building. After confirming that it was correct, Ninetails grinned, little devil Juxinai, how about you tell me about the tailed beast? No, tell me about Zabai, and I'll tell you the person and location of the peeping. What exactly are you thinking about? Kushina frowned and thought for a while, feeling that she was not at a disadvantage, so she nodded and agreed, okay. When the conditions were met, Ninetails lay on the ground and said disdainfully, in the direction of the Hokage office building in your village, I am very familiar with that person's chakra aura. In the past, Vortex Mito called him a monkey, and you called him Uncle Hokage. Even though she was abused thousands of times by Vortex Mito, at least Ko was still convinced by Vortex Mito, and her words were considered polite. What? Leaving the space of consciousness, Kushina suddenly let out a cry. Chiuki knew that Kushina had gone to Kaiabai for help. What's the matter? Ah, have you found it? Snad asked curiously. I found it, that is. Kushina stopped talking. Say. Sinead held his hands impatiently. What a daring thief, knowing that Sineadheim is here, and daring to peek at her, it would be fatal. Kushina chose to lie down. It's Hokage uncle. Huh? Huh? Snad's voice could be improved several times in a few seconds. He looked up at the Hokage office building in astonishment, and clenched his fists angrily. 3 generations of Hokage sitting in Hokage's office, seeing this picture, knew that he had been discovered. Cough cough. Illusion, everything is an illusion. The old man is so busy that he is confused. Where is the time to do this kind of thing? Putting away the crystal ball, the 3rd Hokage pretended that nothing happened, and opened the scroll on the new table to read. Hateful old man. After setting the target, Sinead's teeth tickled. Kainayu thought it had never happened, and walked towards the house with a vegetable basket, and Kushina quickly followed. Kainayu, what do we buy beef bones for? Eat ramen. Ramen like Ichiro ramen? No, you'll find out later. The 2 little devils who are really good at pretending, seeing Kainayu and Kushina deliberately looking for a topic, Sinead was enraged. Hey, didn't I remember that the village strictly forbids people from the Hyuga clan to open their eyes and look around? Why did it suddenly become a double standard? Hearing Kainayu's yin and yang's strange questioning, the blue veins on Snad's forehead continued to burst. You guys go back first, I'll be back soon. With a gloomy face, Sinead rushed directly to the Hokage office building. The door of the office slammed open, and the 3 generations of Hokage showed a stunned look and asked, Sinead, why are you here? Old man, don't give me sloppy eyes, what did you do yourself? Don't you know? Even Kushina knew that it was the Ninetails who exposed you. Shame. If this is another person, Tsunade promises to invite him to eat fists. It's a pity that the 3 generations of Hokage couldn't fight, so Tsunade endured and endured. It is strictly forbidden for the people of the Hyuga clan to look around in the village, for fear that some secrets will be discovered, but you yourself use that disgusting technique to look around all day. Cough cough. 3 generations of Hokage coughed with a guilty conscience, and hurriedly explained, Tsunade, listen to my quibble. No, listen to my explanation. I do everything for the sake of the village. Uchiha's people are constantly approaching the child Kainayu, especially the identity of Uchiha. Few are you too sensitive. I hope you can understand me. Understood shit. Tsunade laughed angrily, but it was for the sake of the village. Why are you guys opening your mouth and shutting your mouth for the sake of the village? For the sake of the village, can you do less shameful things? Once it got out, how did others view Konoha? Kainayu doesn't have any idea of returning to Uchiha. Please don't deceive yourself, or do you want to keep staring at him until you force him to Uchiha's side? Will you be happy? I didn't mean that. The 3rd Hokage also became serious. It's a pity Tsunade didn't eat this set. Since it doesn't mean that, then please put away your ridiculous tactics. He glared at Sandai Hokage fiercely. Tsunade, who had nowhere to let go, smashed a big hole in the wall of the office with a punch, and then he left with a humming. Paws are numb. As soon as Tsunade left, Sandai Hokage's serious expression immediately turned into embarrassment. Originally I was observing secretly, but now it's alright, I was caught straight. In addition, he usually used the telescope technique to see other things, so he couldn't stand up to Tsunade's questioning. Hand-pulled noodle? It's good to eat this thing once in a while. No one can bear it every day. Kainayu made Kushina a bowl of noodles with a different taste. Kushina ate a big bowl, and even Tsunade, who was full of fire, ate 2 big bowls before giving up. After eating, he said hello, and Kainayu left immediately. When I got home, I took out a pen and paper, and quickly wrote down all the principles of the telescope technique and the order of the seals. After working hard for more than 2 hours, and writing more than 100 sheets, I stopped. This telescope technique is something that Kainayu remembered when he played games in his previous life, otherwise he would not be able to figure out the order of the seals. This technique was not taught even by the 3 generations of Hokage. Like watching, right? Then let's watch it together. Let's see if you are in a hurry, Saruto Behizn, and see if you dare to be so tossed in the future. Kainayu decided to popularize the telescope technique. As for what kind of trouble he will cause, it is none of his business. If he wants to blame it, he will blame some old and unruly people. Zaobai handed it over to you. It's definitely not possible to go out in person. It would be embarrassing if found out, so Zaobai needs to be dispatched. That night, a little white fox roamed the streets and alleys of Konoha. He quickly pasted the paper wrapped around his tail in prominent places, and finished all the papers. Zabai left with satisfaction and returned to Kainayu's body. So, the next day. What is this? A new announcement from the village? Is it news about the battlefield? Whoever knows the words, come and see what is written. Chapter 104. The people are angry, and the elders are also panicked. Early in the morning, when the villagers of Konoha woke up, they found that there were some more prominent papers on the street. So I went forward to check, and when I saw it, it was incredible. The technique of binoculars, the creator of the 3 generations of Hokage, Saruto Behizn, this technique can lock other people's chakra to observe, beep, and also see Konoha in rivers, bathhouses, hot spring pools and other places without obstructions. We advise Konoha women not to bathe in rivers, bathhouses, hot spring pools and other places without obstructions. To perform this technique, you need to use a crystal ball as a medium, the order of ninjutsu seals. This is a ninjutsu. The technique of telescopes sounds amazing. Wait, isn't this technique not right? Are we all being watched? What is surveillance? This thing can peek at a woman's bath. Write it down quickly, it's a good thing. It turned out to be a technique developed by Lord Sandaimu. That's great. For a while, everyone who saw this thing became excited, and some ninjas silently wrote down the order of the jutsu mark. Why did the villagers gather together? The people from Anbu noticed this situation, came to check, and were dumbfounded. As Hokage's exclusive troops, they know very well that the 3 generations of Hokage often look around with crystal balls. It's alright now, I don't know who announced this technique, I'm afraid many people have already written it down. Even spies stationed in other villages can learn. Big trouble. Anbu's people rushed forward to drive the villagers away, and by the way, they tore off all the paper that Zabai had posted, and sent it to the Hokage office building as quickly as possible. Lord Hokage, something is bad. Although it was only dawn, the 3 generations of Hokage were already sitting in the Hokage office to handle official business as usual, and the people from Anbu rushed over in a panic. The heartbeat of the 3 generations of Hokage missed half a beat. What he is most worried about now is the bad news that came back from the front line that he couldn't accept. What's up? Lord Hokage, watch it yourself. Anbu's lips moved, and it was a little hard to say, so they could only obediently hand the paper torn from the street to the 3rd Hokage. Paper? Holding a pipe, the 3 generations of Hokage glanced at the paper on the table, full of doubts. This is just ordinary paper. It is impossible to use this kind of ordinary paper to transmit the latest information to the front line. At the very least, it is a special overweight paper, or a scroll. It's not just the information from the front line, at least he can accept other bad news. What is this? Frowning suspiciously, Sandai Hokage picked up the paper on the table and took a look. Cough cough. After seeing what was written on the paper clearly, the 3 generations of Hokage just inhaled the smoke in his lungs and sprayed it directly into his nostrils, and an old life almost explained it like this. Ignoring the choked tears, he stood up abruptly, his face full of shock. Telescope art? That's right, this is the technique of telescopes. The question is, who spread it out? And many more. It seems that I can only master this technique by myself. I have been begging myself for more than 10 years, but I haven't learned it yet. How would anyone know the existence of this technique? Also spread it out. Look at what was written on it. Not only did I use it to spy on everyone, but I also peeked at women taking baths. Although he had done such a thing, it was rumored and written on paper everywhere. Rao's face was as thick as a city wall, and the 3 generations of Hokage couldn't help but blushed. Pointing at the paper that fell on the table, his fingers were shaking. Who did this? Didn't you Anbu notice it? What the hell are people in Anbu doing? The news spreads all over the sky, and you just found out. The 3 generations of Hokage, who rarely get angry with Anbu ninjas, really couldn't help it this time. Due to the war and economic depression, the income of the villagers has dropped sharply, and the increase in materials has made many villagers complain constantly. At this time, there will be some scandals, and it will be strange that the villagers do not fall out. The most terrifying thing is that once the technique of telescope is spread, it is equivalent to almost cutting off the business of bathhouses and hot spring hotels. You must know that bathhouses and hot spring hotels are also a major feature of Konoha, a major economic pillar, and a big taxpayer. Who would dare to care about these places in the future? The most terrifying thing is that this incident will cause a chain reaction. In the future, the first reaction of anyone who sees him his Naruto is that he likes to use the technique of binoculars to monitor everyone, and he likes to use the technique of binoculars to peek at other people's baths. Fame can be called a complete failure, falling from heaven into the ditch. Hokage can be lecherous, but this kind of thing can't be spread to the outside world, otherwise it's all over. At this time, the 3 generations of Hokage seemed to have come to the country of frost and snow, and his heart was half cold, so he couldn't help roaring and questioning the ninja in Anbu. You must know that, no matter how big things are usually, the 3 generations of Hokage will at most just say a few words and put it down. After all, Anbu is the direct line of Hokage. The Anbu ninja who came to report the matter had a wry smile on his face, lowered his head, and said weakly, "Lord Hokage, the people from Anbu patrolled last night and found no suspicious people. We don't know why these things are sticking up everywhere in Konoha. The brothers are already working hard to recover them and disperse the unsuspecting people." What? The voice was raised a few degrees, and the 3 generations of Hokage thought that it was only a little bit, and it was discovered. In the end, he was too naive, not just a little bit, but sticking up Konoha in every conspicuous place, and he almost posted a few outside the Hokage office building. Big trouble. Sarutobi, what are you doing? Now, many owners of hot spring hotels and bathhouses are protesting, asking you to give an explanation. How did it get out? Mitaman and Koharu are anxious like ants on a hot pot. The villagers started watching the excitement, but soon the excitement became unsightly. After the rhythm was brought up, the number of people complaining gradually increased. During the war, life was not easy, and everyone was struggling to support it. As a result, as Hokage, you are doing this behind your back. Don't you have a wife? Have you ever seen a woman take a bath? I also like to monitor. When it comes to surveillance, the people of Uchiha and Hyuga are as uncomfortable as they feel. Because these 2 families have always been the targets of surveillance, Hyuga is fine, knowing their situation. The Hyuga family lay down directly. I don't want the village's resources, and I don't care about the village's affairs, nor do I get involved. The senior management decides how to come. Uchiha is sad. Even if he chooses to lie flat like Hinata, the higher-ups will not let them go. Moreover, the pride of the Uchiha clan prevented them from making the choice to lie flat. This is also why when Hyuga and Uchiha compete for the #1 pupil technique in the ninja world, they are always easily despised by Uchiha. After hearing the news, Koharu and Mito Kazuto rushed over immediately after hearing the news. By coincidence, they happened to meet the owners of the hot spring hotel and bathhouse who came to protest. Thinking about it with your heels, you know it's a big deal. Chapter 105 Emergency Meeting. Spies take the blame. It's okay for this kind of thing to happen in normal times. Make an announcement, explain it, and comfort it, and the anger of the villagers will disappear. After waiting for a long time, everyone naturally forgot about this. But not right now. It is during the war, because the outbreak of the war, life has become difficult, not to mention, many family members have died on the battlefield. When countless people are sad, this kind of thing breaks out. I don't know how it got out. The 3rd Hokage looked embarrassed. He remembered that he clearly didn't tell anyone else, so why did he spread it out in a confused way? Turning to bed, Zeoshun pointed at the embarrassed 3rd Hokage, and wanted to curse. Growing up together, there were still classmates and comrades in arms. How could she not know that the 3 generations of Hokage's quirky guts were simply a copy of Jiraiya? To be precise, Jiraiya has learned a lot from him. Okay, you said it hasn't been spread, and it hasn't been spread, so how do you explain this? He patted the paper he brought on the table, and turned to sleep. Zeoshun angrily shouted, "There are many people protesting outside now. I hope you can go out and explain, especially those families whose relatives died in the front line, as well as the owners of hot spring hotels and bathhouses. If you publish this technique, it will make other people's business plummet. Who would dare to visit Konoha in the future, come to Konoha to take a hot spring, take a bath. No doubt, Konoha's tourism income is also considerable. Compared with other villages, Konoha has a more open attitude towards tourism. Unlike other Dainen villages, you can't easily enter the village without checking your ancestral home. It's alright now, everyone knows that people who come from outside will be monitored, and they will be stared at if they are confused. Can't even get away from taking a shower. Who is this disgusting? First issue an announcement explaining that all of these are rumors, deliberately spread by spies from other villages in order to disturb our Konoha. Seeing this, Mightyman Yan had no choice but to stand up and wipe the buttocks of the 3 generations of Hokage. Whether it is true or not, this bot cannot be carried. Otherwise, it will have a great impact on Hokage's reputation, and it must be denied and not admitted wrong. Push everything on the spy and you're done. I will immediately let the people from Anbu start an investigation and arrest the spy. The 3 generations of Hokage also know that now is not the time to joke. This kind of thing cannot be delayed, otherwise once the incident ferments, it will cause a lot of trouble. Notify the joinin who stayed in the village to come to the conference room for a meeting. Anbu recycles all the paper as quickly as possible, and if those who don't hand it in, first control it in the name of betraying the interests of the village and send it to the police department for interrogation. In addition, start an investigation of the area to capture possible spies. Yes. With the order of the 3 generations of Hokage, the ninjas in Anbu were busy. Jonin, who stayed behind in the village, was also notified and went to the meeting room of the Hokage office building for a meeting. The people from Anbu came to find Tsunade, but unfortunately Tsunade was still sleeping, so he didn't dare to call. I can only ask Kushina to call Tsunade. Sister Tsunade, wake up, Uncle Hokage told you to go to the Hokage office building for a meeting. Don't mention him, I'm annoyed when I hear him, I'm busy sleeping, don't make any noise. Kushina patted off Kushina's hand to push her, and Tsunade rolled over with the quilt between her legs and continued to sleep. I really can't do anything about you, Kushina shook her head speechlessly. Sister Tsunade, the matter is very serious. The ninja from Anbu said that a large number of spies have sneaked into the village to spread news that is not good for the village. Everyone has to go to the Naruto office building for a meeting. Spy? Tsunade, who had been sleeping in a drowsy 1 second, opened his eyes the next second, and his whole body stood up. Yes, it's spread outside. I saw that many people gathered to discuss this matter. I was busy preparing breakfast for Kainayu, so I didn't go to join in the fun. Kushina opened the window and pointed outside. Things are serious. Otherwise, the old man wouldn't be in such a hurry. Tsunade thought about it, put on his clothes in a hurry, didn't even need to wash up, and ran towards the Hokage office building. Just on the way, Tsunade heard some not-so-friendly discussion. Do you think this telescope technique is true? It must be true. Someone has tested it and it can be used. This technique turned out to be developed by Hokage-sama. Could it be that he really used it to see girls in bathhouses and hot spring hotels? What nonsense, how can you slander Hokage-sama? This is clearly the news that the spy deliberately spread. The honest Hokage-sama? It is impossible to do such a thing. If it's not true, why would the owners of hot spring hotels and bathhouses protest? If you dare to insult Hokage-sama again, I will beat you up. Come on, I'm afraid you won't succeed, so I'll just talk about it, and I didn't say that Hokage-sama must have done it. Looking at the noisy people on the street, almost all of them are about to fight. One party is only asking tentatively, and the other party is not happy. They think that an upright person like the 3 generations of Hokage can't do such a lewd thing. No, after the noise, let's do it. Tsunade clenched her fists and clenched her silver teeth. Her mood changed from worry at first to anger at this time. The anger towards the 3rd Hokage. The villagers couldn't tell, and she was not stupid. Can't he do such a thing? Who was that person holding the crystal ball with a wretched smile, drooling at the corners of his mouth, and staring at the crystal ball with red face and red ears? Occasionally watching a wonderful clip, it can even stimulate nosebleeds. The most hateful thing is that this old man wants to watch even his own disciples. Thinking of this, Snad could not wait to kill the 3 generations of Hokage with one punch. Shameless. In this regard, she not only has to guard against this idiot, but also guards against the 3 generations of Hokage. After understanding everything, Tsunade was in a bad mood. He came to the Hokage office building with a face down, and the surrounding Anbu ninjas looked at Tsunade's face and quickly hid to the side in fright. She was afraid that because she stepped with her left foot first, she would be caught and criticized by Tsunade and turned into a punching bag. In the conference room, there were already quite a few Jonin sitting in their seats. Snad walked into the conference room with a sullen face, and sat down at the second position on the right near the third Hokage. Tsunade seemed to be in a bad mood. The good guy went straight to Danzo's seat, but it didn't seem like he couldn't sit. A group of Jonin looked at the nose and looked at the heart, and they didn't have anything to say about it. Whether it's Danzo or Tsunade, the big bosses can handle their own affairs, they can just take care of themselves. What? Is it so lively? At this time, Kainayu was just dragged up by Kushina to eat breakfast. He was still a little sleepy at first, but when he heard Kushina talk about the chaos in Konoha, he burst into laughter. Your 3 generations of Hokage also have today? Try peeping again. Next time, shake out your secret research on the cells of Kain's Tsujian, and see that you are still stunned. Kainayu, eat slowly, I do a lot. Seeing Kainayu hurriedly stuffing something into her mouth, Kushina thought he was starving, her face was full of distress, and she kept persuading her. I hope Kainayu can eat slowly. There are so many nests, ahem. She tried her best to swallow the food in her mouth, otherwise she would not be able to speak clearly. Kainayu took a deep breath and said, I'm busy watching the fun, so I have to eat fast. Kushina, you will take the whirlpool Naomi out for a walk today, I'll dodge first. Chapter 106 No one believes the truth these days. Putting on a sun hat and covering her hair, she looked at herself in the mirror. It was not so conspicuous. Kainayu felt satisfied. TSK, with the same peerless appearance as an idol star, it's not easy to watch a play secretly. Kainayu herself never thought that asking Zabai to stick some paper would cause such an impact. Now the 3 generations of Hokage cliffs are in turmoil. Watching a play. Kushina really didn't know what to say. Fortunately, she also needs to accompany the whirlpool Naming, and can't keep running around with Kainayu. Since Kainayu wants to watch the fun alone, let him go. Outside the Hokage office building, it looks extraordinarily lively. The owners of hot spring hotels and bathhouses are standing outside, hoping that the 3 generations of Hokage can give a reasonable explanation. Speaking of which, this telescope technique is really so powerful. Even people in the bathroom can see it clearly. SHH, be quiet, my aunt's nephew's friend has already tried it, and it's very clear. I'll be blessed in the future, he. Remember to call me, or I'll report you. Listening to the whispered remarks of the surrounding villagers, Kainayu smiled with a stomachache. The owner of the hot spring hotel and the owner of the bathhouse have a black face that is almost like the bottom of a bot sitting down on a big tree not very far from the Hokage office building. Kainayu found a suitable position and watched the big scene with relish. Except for those who couldn't leave their posts, the Junin who stayed in the village almost all came to the conference room of the Hokage office building. The originally empty conference room was full of people. The 3 elders Hokage, Koharu, and Mitogate were the last to arrive. The 3 walked into the conference room, glanced at Tsunade who was sitting in Danzo's seat, walked to their seat and sat down. Cough cough. With a light cough, he focused everyone's attention on himself, the third Hokage. Then he said, I believe that what happened this morning, everyone has already received the news. I won't say more here. The village needs to launch an investigation against spies. I hope everyone will pay attention to this matter. If there are people from Anbu who need cooperation, give them full support. And many more. As soon as Sandai Hokage spoke, Tsunade raised his hand. Everyone couldn't help but look over, and the corners of Hokage's mouth twitched, biting the bullet, and asked, Tsunade, is there anything you don't understand? Turning to bed, Koharu and Mito Kazuo kept using their eyes to instruct Tsunade not to talk nonsense. It's a pity that Tsunade didn't seem to see it, so he asked, I remember the technique of the telescope, only Hokage-sama can do it, right? How did it spread, and the gestures and sequence of the seals spread, are they correct? 3 generations of Hokage's face froze, and everyone in the conference room looked down at the wood pattern on the table, as if a few flowers had grown on the pattern of the desk, always attracting their attention and attention. That's right. There are some differences. I think this must be done by a deeply hidden spy. The third Hokage was embarrassed for a few seconds, then returned to normal, and his tone also became severe. Everyone, the spread of the telescope technique won't do me any good, Konoha. Right now, we should start catching spies and soothe the villagers' emotions as soon as possible. We are all willing to cooperate with Anbu's actions. A group of Jonin expressed their support for the decision of the 3 generations of Hokage. Tsunade folded his arms and looked at the third Hokage coldly. The so-called meeting was just a passing scene, in order to let the villagers know that there were spies operating in Konoha. And this spy is very rampant, and the technique of the telescope is also spread by the spy. Therefore, the village has to arrange manpower to arrest the spies, and also asks the majority of the villagers to leave as soon as possible. Do not gather. The province is used by the spies. If you are caught because of a misunderstanding, it will be a lot of trouble. Seeing the 3 generations of Hokage pretending to start arranging work, Tsunade got up and walked outside. It seems that Konoha's bathhouse and hot spring hotel will be closed in the future. 3 Hokage. In the past, it was only 3 generations of Hokage who peeked by himself. And one Yera also liked to lie on the roof, on the wall. Well now, the telescope technique has been leaked out, and anyone who has learned this ninjutsu can hold a crystal ball and watch it. Lel alone is not as good as all. It's strange that the bathhouse and the hot spring hotel can continue to open after all this tossing. Not to mention a woman, even a man doesn't want to be peeked at when he eats bare buttocks. Everyone watched Tsunade leave, but they didn't dare to stop it. Sarutobi, are you just letting her fool around like this? As soon as Tsunade left, Zeoshun couldn't hold back anymore. I think that the 3 generations of Hokage are too laissez-faire to Tsunade, and this is what makes Tsunade lawless, and even the elders don't take it seriously. Okay, that's it, let's start arranging the work. Tsunade did not continue to demolish the stage, and the 3 generations of Hokage were about to call Amitabha Buddha. How dare to provoke Tsunade? If Tsunade was forced into a hurry and shook out everything he knew, then Sarutobi Hizan could shut himself off and die in front of many Jonin. What's even more frightening is that when the news spreads, what do others think of him? In short, it has become a foregone conclusion that the telescope technique has been spread. The most important thing at this time is how to appease the anger of the villagers. Instead of caring about Tsunade's attitude. Walking out of the Hokage office building, Tsunade didn't even look at the people who gathered outside the Hokage office building. After looking around, he directly locked the direction of Kainayu. How did you know that I would come to the play? The old man has been sending people to stare at you. He is unlucky. I will feel strange if you don't come. Jumping to another tree pole and sitting down, Tsunade stared at Kainayu non-stop, with a strange look in his eyes. "Why are you looking at me? Am I getting hands again?" Kainu raised her hand and touched her face. "Would you like to have a face?" Sinead almost lost his breath, his eyes became dangerous. "You didn't do this, did you?" "Yes, I did it." A woman's intuition is powerful. Kainu nodded in agreement. "Not only did I do it, but I will continue to spread all the forbidden techniques in the Book of Seals, then our Hokage-sama will be finished." "I believe you are a ghost." Sinead just asked casually, but Kainu admitted it directly. "Can you believe it? You're a little kid, you're really good at lying. Who would believe you when you say what's true?" The impact of this incident is not small. The technique of the telescope must have been leaked. Maybe it has been passed on by spies from other villages. It is impossible to take it back. The business of bathhouses and hot spring hotels may plummet in the future. But that's fine, some people in the province have been watching. Looking at Sinead talking to herself, Kainu rolled her eyes. "If you ask me, I will admit it. No one believes the truth. Humans are indeed complex creatures. When you lie, others will take it seriously, but when you tell the truth, others will not believe it. It's closed, isn't it? It doesn't affect me anyway. The big deal is to go to the mountain outside the village to take a dip." Chapter 107 Hand, Rope Tree. Do you want to learn the art of telescope? I will teach you. There are many natural hot spring pools in the mountains around Konoha. The closing of the bathhouse and the hot spring hotel had the least impact on people like Chiuki. It's just that some people are afraid that their hearts are bleeding, such as Jira, who is teaching his disciples on the front line, and the 3 generations of Hokage who are busy throwing blame and arranging work. "Let's go, there's nothing to see. Go back and pack up, and return to the Rain Country camp tomorrow." Sinead has had enough of this smoky Konoha. Staying in the village might as well go to the front line to fight. At least not so disgusting on the front lines. It is good. Sinead said so. Kainu is no longer in the mood to watch the play, and there is nothing to see next. The announcement of the Hokage office building was issued. Those who gathered outside scattered in a hurry. No one wanted to be involved with the spy. Otherwise, if they were unlucky, the whole family would suffer. As for the owner of the hot spring hotel and bathhouse, he chose to leave after receiving the compensation promised by the 3 generations of Hokage. With this compensation, the big deal is to cover the bathhouse and hot spring pool and make it indoor. In this way, even if the business will be affected, at least the blood will gradually recover. A large-scale spy investigation operation was launched in Konoha, and many spies from other villages were really found. Sinead guessed right. These spies had been tortured and had confirmed that the telescope technique had been passed on. Looking at the crystal ball on the table that he treasured like a treasure, the 3rd Hokage sighed heavily, and he can't just take this thing out and use it in the future. Otherwise, it will remind people of his 3 generations of Hokage, and Sarutobi Hizen is peeping and monitoring others, or peeking at others taking a bath. When the dirty water is splashed on the body, it will be like yellow mud falling off the crotch. No one will believe it if it is not excrement. This crystal ball can only be brought home to use, but used at home, what should I do if my wife catches it? The 3 generations of Hokage fell into a deep tangle. Fortunately, time can make people forget everything. After a long time, when others ignore this incident, this crystal ball can be used again and again. The village was busy catching spies. Kainu and Sinead left the village together and returned to the camp in the Land of Rain. After Chiuki and Sinead left, the situation in the Land of Rain took a new turn. After receiving the supplies from Sand Ninja Village, even if the supplies were not too much, it was enough for Unin Village to consume for a while. Under the leadership of Hanzo, Unin Village launched a new round of attack on Konoha. It's just that Hanzo seems to be deliberately dragging the fight. and he doesn't have the idea of compromising the whole army. It is clear that he will tell Chiyo. If you want to use me, there is no way. I think it's okay for your village to attack in a big way, and continue to send supplies, otherwise you Chiyo will not have the opportunity to attack the Konoha camp. This move by Hanzo made Chiyo very angry. Now she is still hesitating whether to continue sending supplies to Yuan village. Because Sand Ninja village doesn't have much of its own supplies, but if they don't send it, the war will drag on like this. Konoha is in a hurry, and Sand Ninja village is also in a hurry. As Konoha continued to fight back, Sand Ninja village didn't get much benefit on the battlefield of River Country. Now the ninjas from the Sand Ninja village who have sneaked into the Country of Fire have either evacuated or died in the Country of Fire. The Sand Ninja village made a surprise attack on the Land of Fire, and the loss was not small. Fortunately, they grabbed a lot of things. Grain, gold and silver treasures. As long as there are useful things, Sand Ninja village doesn't mind taking them away. If it wasn't too troublesome to kidnap people, the ninjas in Sand Ninja village would definitely capture all the people in the Land of Fire to Sand Ninja village to fill the population of the village. After returning to the camp, after reporting for the report, I inquired about it. Watergate and Rope Tree were in the camp and did not go to the front line. Kanai left Tsunade and came to find them. Tsunade also needs to hand over the things brought from the village to Danzo. I thought you would go back for a few days, but it turned out to be so long. Minato slapped Kanayu's shoulder with a smile. Kanayu raised her hand to grab it. Minato's hand shrank back like lightning, and Kanayu said with a smile, "That's right, it seems that he is really teaching you seriously. The speed of your neural reflexes is getting more and more perverted." Bah, what is perversion? I call it progress. Watergate kept pouting. My improvement in strength is a metamorphosis? Then what are you? Always changing? Is the situation in the village okay? Rope Tree asked the question she cared about the most. Kanayu's expression suddenly became strange. When the two of them saw a problem, they looked at Kanayu eagerly and kept urging him, "What's new? Tell me quickly. What about your irresponsible teacher?" Kanayu looked outside the tent. Minato was stunned. Does it have anything to do with Chira-sensei? Chira went to the front line for support 2 days ago, and the offensive of Yuan village has once again become aggressive, and the front line is under great pressure. That's good. Since Chira is not here, there is no problem. Kanayu sat on the ground, hugged her stomach and laughed. A very interesting thing happened in Konoha. The technique used by the 3 generations of Hokage to spy on others and peek at others' paths was leaked. At present, many ninjas have learned it, and the village is busy for this matter. Catch spies everywhere. Forehead. Watergate was dumbfounded. The technique of spying on others and peeking at others' paths has been leaked. What kind of weird ninjutsu? The Rope Tree was stunned after a few seconds. He quickly reacted and asked quickly, "Is it the one that can be seen by holding a crystal ball? Have you learned it yet? Let's talk about the principle of this technique and the order of the seal." He bumped Kanayu with his shoulder, and Rope Tree was a little anxious. "Don't be in a hurry to laugh, tell me quickly, have you learned?" "I'm sorry, but I won't." Kanayu opened her eyes to talk nonsense, and Shengshu looked regretful. "That's a pity." "You." Minato was dumbfounded. What surprised him the most was that Rope Tree actually wanted to learn this art. No wonder Kanayu asked if teacher Jira was at the camp. This is the ninjutsu that teacher Jira dreamed of. The result was leaked, and he hadn't had a chance to learn yet. If Jira-sensei found out, he would definitely be devastated. Thinking of Jira's white hair, jumping feet, and madness, Minato's face appeared a big embarrassed character. "I won't, but someone will. You can find her." "Who?" Shengshu's eyes lit up, and the thief approached. Kainayu forcibly held back her smile. Your sister. Depend on. You can just kill me. If my sister knew that I wanted to learn this ninjutsu, she wouldn't have skinned me. Rope Tree raised his hand and pointed a middle finger to Kainayu. I despise you. You have returned to the village. You haven't learned anything about such an important thing. It's a waste of time to go back. The weather is nice today. Watergate pretended to look outside the tent. Kainayu nodded and agreed with a face. Yes, it usually rains heavily, but today it was only a light rain. The weather is really good. When will the weather in the land of rain get better? In addition to rain, it still rains 360 days a year, and there is not a single day when the sun comes out. Do you still think the weather is good now? Roshi felt that there was something wrong with Kainayu and Minato, and was about to say something when suddenly felt a chill on the back of their neck. Startled in his heart, the Rope Tree almost jumped up. Murderers. And many more. I won't be so unlucky. Realizing the seriousness of the matter, the Rope Tree showed a smile that was uglier than crying. When he turned to look slowly, his eyes just collided with Tsunade, who was smiling but not smiling. Tsunade had just come over from the headquarters when he heard Noza grabbing Kainayu and asking him if he had learned the art of binoculars. Kainayu is right. I have learned it. Come out and I will teach you. Shaking the drops of water on his long blonde hair, Tsunade grabbed the Rope Tree by the neck and carried him towards the outside. Ow! A few seconds later, screams like killing pigs came from outside the tent. Kainayu and Minato looked at each other and sighed tacitly. It's really miserable. Chapter 108. Don't be afraid of open spears, only afraid of dark arrows. The next day, Tsunade left the camp with people early in the morning. She needs to take people to the front line for support, and the Kainayu squad also ushered in a long-awaited mission to transport supplies. At present, the troops in the camp are tight, and most of the ninjas have been sent to the front line. The Kainayu squad leads 3 Chunin squads to form a material delivery squadron, which is responsible for transporting materials to the front line. Danzo took out the quest scroll and gave it to Chiuki instead of Minato, who was a team diplomat. At the same time, a line was drawn on the map, which is the route that the team transporting supplies needs to take. Although there are seal scrolls, except for some medical supplies and ninja tools, other things need to be transported by carriage. This is why it is necessary to form a transport squadron. The 3 Chunin squads and the Kainayu squad are combined, and their mission is not to fight, but to transport things. Danzang's face was solemn, and he pointed to the transportation route that the team needed to travel. Currently, the situation in the Land of Rain is chaotic, and the ninjas in Iwainin village have retreated a lot to prevent N village from attacking them. And Sand Ninja village is staring at us, so your team's task is very heavy. Speaking of which, Danzo's eyes fell on Kainayu. In theory, such a transport squadron needs a powerful Jonin to lead the team. Most of the Shangnin in the camp are on the front line, and the rest need to stay behind to protect the camp. With no manpower available, Danzo had no choice but to hand over the task to Kainayu's squad. It just so happened that Kainayu had a strength comparable to that of Jonin, so he would lead the squadron and transport supplies to the front line. So we need to face the risk of enemy attack at any time? If Danzo didn't say this, Kainayu would definitely suspect that he was trying to trick her. But everything is on the bright side, so there is no suspicion of deliberately tricking people. It was the period when high-end combat power was lacking, and Danzo would not attack Kainayu at this critical period. This mission is really a normal transportation mission. Yes, so I let your Kainayu squad lead the other 3 Chunin squads. Tuanzang said, Yagami Kainayu, although you haven't passed the test yet, but from your record, you have the strength to be shoulder to shoulder or even stronger, so you need to lead this team well. Nodding, Kainayu took the task scroll. As long as you don't deliberately trick him, Kainayu doesn't care about the rest. He is not afraid of the enemy on the bright side, but he is afraid of being stabbed in the back by his own people. Kainayu took over the task, and Danzo nodded in satisfaction. These 3 people are the 3 who will cooperate with you this time. Captain Chunin, please get in touch first to familiarize yourself with the lineup and collocation of the squads. The group left the command center. The 3 Chunin captains took the initiative to say hello to Kainayu and introduced, "Captain, my name is Shanminayu. Little Zoro. Shimura Mizuki." After the 3 Chunin captains introduced themselves, Kainayu looked at the last person in surprise. "Are you from the Shimura clan?" "Yes, Captain." Shimura Mizuki is no stranger to Kainayu, because Shimura Zui, the Shimura family, has become a joke. He was often laughed at by other clans, which made the Shimura clan very dissatisfied with Kainayu. Shimura Mizuki also had this idea at first. After learning about Kainayu's series of achievements, she extinguished the dissatisfaction in her heart. Even if the ninja rank is not promoted, Cheuki can at least be regarded as a Jnin. In the conflict between the Jnin, what did he meddle with as a little Chunin? If you offend Kainayu and give yourself a small shoe to wear, then you will be out of luck. Not to mention my own bad luck, I have to implicate other teammates. Besides, he and Shimura Zui are only members of the same family, and they are not familiar with each other, so why should he offend Kainayu for Shimura Zui? Very good, let your teammates gather. We will gather at the entrance of the camp in an hour. It can be seen that the other party does not have the resentment and dissatisfaction that most Shimura clan members have towards him. No matter what the reason is, as long as Shimura Mizuki doesn't take the initiative to trouble himself, obediently obeys, and completes the task, Kainayu will not deliberately target him. Yes. The 3 Chunin captains dispersed and assembled the team. Shengshu said with emotion, "I didn't expect that our team could also become the leader of a squadron." In this regard, Rope Tree was very emotional. Minato glanced at him and complained, "We were able to receive such a task because Kainayu has the strength of a shoulder to shoulder, even stronger than that of Shangin. Otherwise, we still don't know where to do chores. If you don't demolish my platform, will you die? Your sun does not warm people's hearts at all, but pierces them. Sun. Roll." Watching Rope Tree and Minato sparring together, Kainu sat aside and watched the play happily. Everything that needs to be packed has already been packed up, just wait for the 3 teams to gather before they can set off. Soon, the team was assembled, all the supplies were loaded onto the carriage, and the team escorted the team out of the camp. In the camp, in an inconspicuous place, Danzo watched the convoy disappear into the rain, and the ninja of General couldn't help asking, "Sir, is it really reliable to entrust the task to the Kainayu squad? They are still children. The child in your eyes has the ability to easily kill the Shangnin. If someone recommends and writes an application, I or Kainayu will definitely pass the Shangnin assessment. Don't judge everything by age." Danzo said lightly, "What's the result of the investigation in Kusanagi village?" General Ninja respectfully replied, "If you go back to your lord, you've already found 3 people from the Vortex clan, and you can start rescue operations immediately after waiting for your lord's order. Help me." Holding an umbrella, Danzo slowly walked towards the command center. "There's already a whirlpool Mori, so don't worry about how many more. A 9-tailed man is just a pillar, and he can't turn the sky over. What belongs to my Konoha, even if I don't want it, can't fall into the hands of other villages." Looking up at the direction of Iwainin village, Danzo sneered. "Onogi, do you want the perfect person, Yulai? You will not succeed." If it hadn't been for Onogi's footsteps, Danzo wouldn't have cared even if he knew that there were remnants of the Vortex clan in Kusanagi village. Konoha already has a new human pillar strength, as long as there are no accidents, Kushina can at least stabilize the Nine Tails for decades. You don't need to go to great lengths to find new people. However, Onogi blended in, making Danzo feel that the remnants of the Vortex clan cannot be obtained by a Wainin village. So he decisively asked General's people to investigate, rescued him, and sent him back to Konoha. Anyway, Kainayu and the others have already sent a Whirlpool Ming back, and a few more will not affect the overall situation. Besides, the rescued people are all children. When these children take root in Konoha, they will naturally have a sense of belonging to Konoha after living for a long time. As for adults, they are not eligible for Konoha's rescue. On the way, the three Chunin squads laboriously pushed the carriage forward. In the rain country where there is mud everywhere, the transportation of materials is very troublesome. Chapter 109 What should I do with an unreliable squadron captain? Wait online, hurry. The purpose of the existence of the three Chunin squads is to push carts. The mission of the Kainayu squad is to protect the safe delivery of materials to the front line. As for Jinin, at this stage, Konoha has not yet reached the point where he needs to be ninja and come to the battlefield as a consumable. Seeing the three Chunin squads pushing the car forward with great effort, Rope Tree and Minato were embarrassed to watch, so they went up to help. The two went to help and were welcomed by others. This kind of hard work, naturally. The more people, the better. When Kainayu pulled up her sleeves to help, she was directly rejected. Shimura Mizuki's refusal, Lord Kainayu, you can't do this. Your existence is to protect us and protect materials. If you spend your physical strength in such a place, when the enemy attacks, who will protect everyone and who will protect the materials? Yup. Little Saru and Shanminayu also nodded in agreement. Sir, you just need to investigate the surrounding movement and protect everyone and supplies. As for these activities, we will handle them. Kainayu. Why does it feel like I'm here to help, but it seems like I'm doing something wrong? After thinking about it, Kainayu still didn't make a move. Since your mission is to protect materials and protect your teammates, then you should do your job as a bodyguard. As for Watergate and Rope Tree, just push the cart. The weak are not treated well. He rests, we push the cart? Watergate and Rope Tree were stunned. You two, why are you still lazy? Lord Kainayu is trying to save your energy and protect us and supplies. Can you two be compared to Lord Kainayu? That's right, hurry up and push the cart. It's easier for everyone to work hard together. Don't think about being lazy, otherwise, when the task is over, I will truthfully report to Lord Danzo. At this moment, Rope Tree and Minato were stabbed in the heart, and they were bleeding all the time. Kainayu couldn't help laughing when she saw the two men pushing the cart. This picture is so hilarious. The delivery of supplies is a hassle. Even if ninjas run on water, they still can't stop them in the mud. But when you add a few carriages to the muddy ground, the taste changes. No, the entire squadron, except for Kainayu, who was in a little better condition, everyone else seemed very embarrassed. Not to mention the embarrassment is still very tiring. Ninjas can use chakra to condense under their feet to walk, but the vehicles for transporting supplies are not good. The place where it should be laborious has to be laborious, and it is not cheap at all. Push the car to the open space in front, rest on the spot, and leave tomorrow morning. It is not a good choice to travel continuously at night. The task of the team is to deliver the supplies within 3 days. Even if the task is completed, there is no need to desperately rush for a little time. This. Isn't it appropriate? Seeing Kainayu announce the rest, check whether the tarpaulin of the supplies is covered, and the Rope Tree in the water gate immediately sit down and rest. This made the eyes of the three Chunin captains straight. This is not the first time they have participated in the joint delivery of supplies. Every time everyone works overtime and rushes to the front line. They are afraid of delaying time and encountering enemies on the road. The Kainayu squad is better. As soon as it gets dark, they have to choose to rest. There is no idea of rushing the night road. Just listen to him. That's right. Rope Tree couldn't see it and explained, since Kainayu is the captain, then you should obey the captain's arrangement. From the Shimura family, you should take people to hunt, otherwise we can only eat dry food at night. Shimura Mizuki's face sank. What is the Shimura family? I call you from the Senju family, are you happy? Also, you let me go hunting? On the way to the mission, you still want to eat barbecue. The descendants of the original purpose have indeed fallen. Shimura Mizuki showed an expression of hating iron, and was about to reprimand Rosu and teach him some battlefield survival experience. However, before he could speak, Kainayu said, "All right, Shimura Mizuki, you lead your team to hunt." Shimura Mizuki swears that he has never encountered such a strange team. On the way to the mission, he even had to eat barbecue. Although the grilled meat was delicious and Shimura Mizuki ate a few large pieces, he still felt that it was wrong to do so. The smoke that is easily ignited by the fire can easily reveal the position of the team, causing the enemy to be attracted. After eating the barbecue, Kainayu calmly put out the fire and warned, "You can rest at night. If there is an enemy approaching, I will remind you." Watergate and Rope Tree didn't have any opinion. They hid in a place where they couldn't get in the rain. They hugged their arms and started to rest. After pushing the car for a day, they were not too tired. On the contrary, Shimura Mizuki and other 3 Chunin captains were a little worried. They thought Kainayu would be in charge of the vigil, so they took the initiative to stand up. "Captain, let's keep watch with you. There are a lot of people, and you can take turns to rest at night. It's too tiring to watch the night alone." "I don't keep watch." Kainayu looked at the 3 people who were scrambling to accompany her to watch the night, and said, "You can just rest. I'll take care of the other things. Don't worry." You can see that they are both falling asleep. "With Zabai here, why are you still staying at night? Isn't this not making you happy? Rest early so that you will have the strength to push the cart tomorrow." Looking at a few carriages that were parked together and piled up with supplies, Kainayu had a headache. The technological development of Naruto world is seriously biased, and the explosion of medical technology is unacceptable in other aspects. Especially in terms of mechanical transport. You can't make it, but someone can make a robot. You said that there is no craftsmanship, others can still make guns. It's just that the guns made by Naruto world are a bit old-fashioned. Almost useless. Why do you feel that our captain is unreliable? Seeing that Kainayu really used kunai to dig a tree hole in a big tree, and sat in it and closed her eyes to rest, Shimura Mizuki, Chan Minayu, and Little Seru all wanted to cry. What should I do with an unreliable squadron leader? Waiting online, it's very urgent. I order the 3 of you to rest. If there is any complaint, or if you are dissatisfied, you can report it after the task is over. Now you have to listen to me. Seeing the 3 of them muttering and sitting together without saying anything nice, Kainayu couldn't stand them. Working with people outside the squad is trouble. This is not right, and that is not right. The people from my own team simply save trouble. I will report truthfully to Lord Danzo. Shimura Mizuki was so angry that he said these words angrily, and only then did he take his team to rest. "No matter, lie down," the captain almost asked them to rest in a stern tone. "What can they do? Let's take a rest, anyway. The enemy attacked, and it wasn't them who took the blame. When that time comes, you should try to escape desperately, and then go back and sue Kainayu's misdeeds." Too irresponsible, even the squadron captain. Kong has a strong strength, but he doesn't have the professionalism of a ninja at all. How did Danzo-sama think that he would actually make him the squadron leader and lead the team to transport supplies? Little Saru and Shanminayu were also a little angry, but they were not as brave as Shimura Mizuki. After all, the other party is a ninja from the Shimura clan and has a backer. The two of them are just ordinary ninjas, but they dare not offend Kainayu and the others. Really boring. Shaking his head, Kainayu didn't take it to heart. After all, others also hope that the task can be successfully completed, and hope that there will be no enemies on the road. Everything is for his own good. It's just the first time everyone has cooperated, so there are some conflicts in the concepts. Kainayu is not stingy yet. Because of her ideas and persistence, she hates each other. Minato, how's the new technique going? Chapter 110 Entering the War Zone. There is a situation. Kainayu glanced at the water gate and rope tree, and asked casually. The two of them didn't have the energy to dig a tree hole and leaned directly under a stone. Hearing this, Minato opened his eyes and scratched at the constantly growing hair in distress. It's very difficult. It is indeed a forbidden technique developed by the second generation of eyes. I haven't figured out the way out yet. I need to learn the sealing technique first. The art of flying Thunder God is not something that ordinary people can learn. Rope Tree raised his head proudly. Minato was speechless and asked, "Have you studied?" "Ah." Rope Tree broke the defense instantly. "You don't ask if this will kill you? Aren't we talking about the technique of flying Thunder God? How is it related to whether I have studied?" After being stunned for a few seconds, Rope Tree's face slowly flushed red. He seemed to recall his horrific experience in learning the technique of flying Thunder Gods. He raised his hand and grabbed Minato's neck, shaking it vigorously. "Bastard, aren't we talking about your flying Thunder God technique? Why are you pulling on me?" "Ha ha ha." Kainayu almost burst into laughter. Shengshi has learned the art of flying Thunder Gods, and he has a second-generation purpose notebook at home, but unfortunately he can't learn it, and he can't even pass the level of sealing. This is not Kainayu's slander, but Tsunade himself said. When it comes to this matter, Tsunade will dislike the younger brother Rope Tree as much as he dislikes it. I already said that you are not of this material, but you still don't believe it. I have to try it. I feel comfortable now. I've been beaten. Hey Tilda, is our mission really okay? Hearing the voices of Kainayu and the three of them talking and laughing, Little Zoro sighed, feeling that he was on a pirate ship. The captain is unreliable, and the team members are also unreliable. Can they deliver the supplies to the front line safely? Shanminayu shook her head slightly and smiled bitterly. I don't know either. Since Danzo-sama believes in the captain, let's trust him. Rest early, it's been a long day. I'm so angry, I really want to run back and file a complaint. Shimura Mizuki, who was not with the other two, turned green. He felt that Kainayu and the others had no common sense at all, and they really didn't know what terrible things would happen in the next moment following such a captain. It was really hard for me to follow such a captain. No matter what other people's inner thoughts are, Kainayu and the three are the same as usual. It's time for small talk, it's time to rest. Kainayu doesn't even bother to set up traps in the rain. After a night of silence, the first night passed so safely. Kainayu and the three of them had a good rest, but the other three teams couldn't. Everyone was frightened, especially the three Chunin captains. The next day, they wore a pair of panda eyes, and they looked a little listless. Looking at the three Kainayus who were full of energy, talking and laughing, they regretted it. I regret that I have nothing to worry about. Wouldn't it be good to have a good rest? Well now, others are full of energy, but I am listless, always dozing off and wanting to sleep. The most uncomfortable thing is that they still have to push the cart. Sao bye, if there is any trouble, you will be alerted immediately. After entering the area where the enemy is haunted, Kainayu specially reminded Zabai. In the next journey, whether you encounter enemies or your own people, you need to be extremely vigilant. Sometimes your own people may become enemies in seconds. Okay, Master. Zabai got under Kainayu's raincoat, revealing a small snow-white head, and looked around curiously. Captain, we have entered an area where the enemy often haunts. The enemies of U Ninja Village and Sand Ninja Village will often ambush our Konoha transport team in this area. We need to be vigilant. Feeling angry, Shimura Mizuki didn't want to take care of it. Seeing that Kainayu didn't even want to patrol and investigate, he suddenly couldn't stabilize, and hurriedly stepped forward to remind Kainayu. I was worried that the enemy would be ambushed on the road. If the team plunged headlong into the enemy's encirclement, it would be a big problem. At that time, even if Kainayu was strong, the team might not be able to retreat completely. After 10,000 steps, the people were safely evacuated. What about the supplies? The materials were destroyed and robbed, and the mission was considered a failure. The ninjas who fought against the enemy on the front line were waiting for these supplies. Although they are from the Shimura clan, Shimura Mizuki is not as ruthless as Danzo. Kainu looked at him in surprise, smiled and said, "Thank you for the kind reminder from Senior Shuimu. I have already prepared. You don't need to worry about this. Go back and continue pushing the cart. We will try to get out of this area as soon as possible. If there is an accident, I will choose to continue my journey at night. If there is an enemy approaching that Zabai can't find, even if he goes on patrol, what's the use of reconnaissance? Could his perception be stronger than Zabai, who is an exclusive tailed beast? Don't talk about him, even Kushina can't compare to Zabai." Kindly reminded that Shimura Mizuki was very sad in exchange for such a sentence. Nodding in disappointment, he returned to the convoy, and continued to push the cart while holding his breath. If we don't patrol and investigate, we will be surrounded by the enemy, or we will fall into the enemy's ambush circle. What should we do? Shan Minayu and Zoxirasuo deliberately talked about this topic, and wanted to inquire from the side of Minato and Rossiu, how the Kainayu team's investigation work was carried out. Hearing this, Minato smiled and comforted, "Senior, don't worry. If any enemy approaches, the captain will find it immediately." "Really?" Shan Minayu asked in surprise. "The captain also has the powerful perception ability of a sentient ninja? We have always been the only ones who ambushed others. No one has been able to ambush our Kainayu team. The three seniors will be at ease. Kainayu can handle all this." Compared to Minato, Rope Tree is a little more serious, with a smug fart on his face. "You two are silly, others are rhetoric, yet you didn't react." Even if the Rope Tree didn't react, why did you, Minato, also act stupid? Could it be that the practice of sealing has confused the brain? Recalling that Minato has been working hard on sealing in order to learn the technique of flying thunder gods these days, Kainayu subconsciously shook her head. The threshold for learning the art of flying thunder god is really too high. Fortunately, I have self-awareness, and I didn't have a headache. Otherwise, it will definitely become the second Watergate. Absolutely eating and sleeping, thinking about how to learn the sealing technique, almost fell into a spell. After listening to your words, I became even more flustered. Shan Minayu and Zoxirasuo looked at each other, both of them could see the helplessness in each other's eyes. It's a pity that they are not the team leader. They can only follow orders, and have no qualifications to dictate. How to do it is up to Kainayu. Master, someone is watching from the front left. What should come will always come. The transport team needs to pass through the area where the enemy is active, and it is completely normal to be targeted. Keep watching. Kainu calmly told Zhao. The convoy continued to move forward steadily. During the whole day, except for the investigators, they were not attacked. It seems that our transportation mission this time will go well. Roasting his clothes, Rope Tree tried his best to get his body close to the fire so that he could warm up a bit. The work of pushing a cart in the rain is really not done by people. Even if you wear a raincoat, there is no dry place all over your body. I'm afraid not. Watergate grilled the meat patties brought from the camp, and glanced at Kainayu, who was sitting by the side without speaking. Intuition told him that it might not be peaceful tonight. If the situation is normal, Kainayu will probably let them go hunting first, and everyone will eat some barbecue to warm up. But today Kainayu's reaction was a bit abnormal. It looks like a fight will break out. With a sigh, Shengxia quickly put on his clothes, regardless of whether the clothes were still steaming, and came to the resting place of the other three teams, Senior Zoro, Senior Minayu, and Senior Mizuki. I'm afraid the battle will break out tonight, so be prepared for the battle. Is there an enemy coming? Little Saru, Chan Minayu, and Shimura Mizuki were shocked. Kame, today is said to be online Valentine's Day. I don't know what to wish for, so I wish you all to go both ways. I like coding, only you in my heart. Chapter 111. The moon is black and the wind is high. The time of hunting, Rope Tree hurriedly explained. The enemy hasn't come yet, but it's a matter of time before the battle breaks out. Just be prepared for the battle. There are sentient ninjas investigating, which means that the enemy will come soon, or attack in the middle of the night when everyone is resting. Kainayu didn't take the initiative to remind her, but it was also because of the tacit understanding that Kainayu's team developed. As long as his emotions are a little abnormal, Minato and Roshi can understand. Keep going. But this time, Kainayu's choice exceeded their expectations. Aren't you going to rest and wait? No. This mission will be a bit troublesome. Neither Rainin Village nor Sand Ninja will just watch the supplies being sent to the camp, and many enemies will come to obstruct them. Hurry up all night and try to arrive in the morning. If it was in the past, Kainayu would definitely continue to rest and travel during the day. The situation is not right now. It is better to arrive as soon as possible. Sand Ninja Village and Rain Ninja Village, the reconnaissance is too frequent, which is not good news. It is good. Minato and Roshi nodded, and the two went to confess to the others. Soon everyone will be ready to continue their journey in the dark. Although rushing the night road will bring a lot of trouble, fortunately, the speed of progress is not slow. In the dark night, a white light and shadow flashed across Kainayu's body and disappeared into the vast darkness. On a big tree far away from the material transportation team, a perception ninja in the Sand Ninja Village hiding here relying on camouflage is observing the material transportation team. At this moment, a white light flashed, and the perceiving ninja felt a sore throat, and the next second, blood spurted out. He could only hold his throat in disbelief and fell from the tree. In his perception, there is no creature with chakra breath approaching. Then what was the white figure that attacked him just now? Is it some kind of special technique? Or a special psychic beast? As an exclusive psychic beast, Zabai is different from other tailed beasts in that it can restrain its chakra, refine natural energy, integrate itself into nature, and avoid the other party's detection methods. Then get close to the opponent and easily kill with one hit. How sharp are the claws of the tailed beast? How terrible is the power? Or only those who have experienced the tailed beast rebellion know the horror of tailed beasts. For Zabai, killing a perception ninja is no different from cutting off a grass with claws. After easily solving a perception ninja, Zabai ran towards the next target. In the rainy night of slaughter, no one thought that a little white fox would turn into a white god of death, reaping the life of the enemy. After a while, Zabai returned to Kainayu's shoulder and rubbed his cheek affectionately against Kainayu's face. Kainayu touched its little head and asked with a smile, "It's all resolved?" Zabai nodded, yawned, rolled up his tail and put it under his head, and started to sleep on his stomach. At the same time, he didn't forget to give Kainayu a look that was done, and there was a little smugness in his eyes. It's like saying, Zabai is foolproof when he goes out on a horse. The poor enemy may not even know how he died. Kainayu mourned for those poor fellows for 3 seconds and shouted to the team behind, "The reconnaissance ninjas have all been processed, speed up the journey." Yes. Minato and Rope Tree were not surprised, they gritted their teeth and continued to push the cart. When the others heard this, their faces were dazed. The perceptive ninjas of the reconnaissance have all been dealt with? The captain doesn't seem to have been dispatched. How is it solved? Is the captain trying to make us happy? Without these reconnaissance ninjas, the team's speed has been greatly accelerated. At this time, some people who were preparing to raid in the middle of the night were waiting for news. Among them, there is a team of Sand Ninja Village specially responsible for intercepting Konoha materials. Looking at the dark night sky, the raindrops kept falling. Masha took people to hide in the cave, waiting for the latest information from the reconnaissance ninja. According to the intelligence collected during the day, there is a Konoha transport team passing by the route they are responsible for intercepting. This team unexpectedly stopped halfway along the way to rest. If it wasn't for the advice given by the scout ninja to wait for news, he would have killed him long ago with his teammates. Isn't that bastard Kongmu asleep? There has been no response for more than 3 hours. After cursing a few words, Masha said to his subordinates, "Jitu, go see if that bastard Kongmu is asleep. Why hasn't he moved for so long?" "Yes, Lord Masha." The rock and soil were drenched in the dark night in the heavy rain. It didn't take long for him to find the place where Kongmu was hiding under surveillance. It seems to be troublesome. Looking at Kongmu's corpse lying on the ground with its throat cut open, blood mixed with muddy water, making the color a little weird, and the rock and soil was startled. Not even caring about the corpse of his corpse companion, he turned his head and ran away. Master Masha is not good, Kongmu was killed. What? Masha stood up in shock. Everyone was still waiting for news about Kongmu, but he was killed. Not good. Masha realized something, slapped his thigh and shouted, "It must have been done by Konoha's people." They had already discovered that Kongmu was watching, so they deliberately stopped and rested, just to confuse us. Let us prepare for a night attack in the middle of the night, and they took the opportunity to kill Kongmu and quietly left. Konoha's ninjas are so despicable. Masa cursed angrily. If this batch of supplies is sent to the position, he will be considered a mission failure. At that time, if you record a mission failure, you may be deducted a lot of military exploits. When Masha thought of the consequences of failing the mission, she immediately panicked. The old woman Chiyo's son and daughter-in-law died in the land of fire. She was burning fire and hating Konoha. At this time, the mission failed, so she knew that the supplies were delivered, and there would be no good fruit to eat. Hurry up. Not caring about anything else, Masha arrived at the place where the material transport team rested at the fastest speed not long ago. Seeing the empty camp, there was nothing left except the traces of the fire drenched by the rain on the ground, and Masha's lungs were about to explode. With someone, he chased after the wheel marks. He didn't believe that in just a few hours, Konoha's people could still fly. Failed. Master, there are enemies behind you. The team was on their way when Zabai suddenly gave Kainayu a reminder. Kainayu glanced behind her and said with a smile, "These people are still quick to respond. I thought they would wait until the middle of the night before dispatching. It seems that hunting and scouting ninjas may not be able to deceive everyone. Go ahead, I'll stop the enemy." Leaving a sentence, Kainayu ran towards the back, and a few instants disappeared into the night. Keep going. When Kainayu was not around, Rope Tree gave orders instead of him. Don't say I don't have you in my heart, this is a 520 gift from me. If you like it, give it a gift, tilde.